More than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images. CNN teams are carefully sifting through the largest, and what the Justice Department says is the last, batch of Jeffrey Epstein files. It's an enormous trove of documents, and it includes references to some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet. That includes the current president, a former president, cabinet secretaries, a former prime minister, billionaires, and the list goes on and on and on. The Justice Department says tonight that its job is done.
We complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump, we didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents.
I should note that just because someone is mentioned in these documents does not mean that they've been accused of wrongdoing or did anything wrong. Many of these claims are unverified or they rely on secondhand information. But these
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the program.
So far, and I should note,
we have so much to bring to you today. We are actually going to go into the DOJ files. We're going to look at some of the news stories. The Department of Justice has just released a stack of Epstein-related files, and already the internet is ripping into every page, every name, and every redaction. Now, for years, survivors have been screaming that this wasn't just about one man. It was about a system that protected him. So tonight, well, today, for the first time, we're getting an official glimpse of how deep that system goes. So politicians, billionaires, celebrities, royals, Andrew, execs, everyone who ever brushed up against Epstein's world is suddenly very, very nervous. And if you think this is just old news, wait until you see how these documents line up with what we were never supposed to know. What we're going to do here first is we're going to go over to Todd Blanche, the Attorney General, and he made some statements yesterday. We're going to watch him for a little while. Then we're going to look at some of the other news stories. We're going to get directly into the Department of Justice website. We're going to go right into it. So here we go, guys. Fasten your seatbelts. Stay with me till the end. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share. I am so glad you are all here today. So I'm going to break down exactly what is inside the DOJ's Epstein files. It's going to take a little while for all of them to come out, so we will be covering this regularly, what it means to the powerful people connected to him, and whether this is the start of real accountability or just another controlled burn. So hit that subscribe, like, and share. Let's get into it.
Good morning. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law on November 19th, 2025.
It's late.
Directing the Department of Justice to produce all documents, files, records, videos, and images related to the investigations and prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm here today to talk about the department's compliance with its production obligations under the Act. Around, I think right now, and continuing throughout the day-to-day, as the indexing and uploading completes, we are producing responsive materials under the Act. We are also releasing today a letter we are transmitting to Congress and various internal protocols associated with our review. I want to take a moment to thank the professionals at the Department of Justice who met twice daily, sometimes more, for the last 75 days to get to where we are today. The leadership teams from the Office of the Attorney General, from the Deputy Attorney General's office, the Associate Attorney General's office, the Criminal Division, the National Security Division, the FBI, the Southern District of Florida, the Southern District of New York, and the Northern District of New York all gave up many hours every single day on top of their other, of course, full-time obligations to fulfill the President Trump's promise of transparency to the American people. I also want to thank the more than 500 lawyers and professionals across all those divisions that I just mentioned and others who worked long days, nights, weekends, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, nights, weekends, and holidays to complete this production. These highly trained reviewers spend their careers putting bad guys in jail, and effectuating the mission of the department. And to a person, they
forgot a
work
couple.
tirelessly to protect victims and comply with the act since its passage. So thank you to all of them. Today, we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the act. Just a quick note about the videos and images. The 2,000 videos and 180,000 images are not all videos and images taken by Mr. Epstein or someone around him. They include large quantities of commercial pornography and images that were seized from Epstein's devices, but which he did not take or that someone around him did not take.
What's up, Coco?
Some of the videos, though, and some of the images do appear to be taken by Mr. Epstein or by others around him. Now, I want to talk for a few minutes about the department's document identification and review protocols. It consisted of multiple layers of review and quality control designed to ensure compliance under the act and protect victims. On top of the review protocols that the department had in place, the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York employed an additional review protocol to ensure compliance with a court order requiring United States Attorney Jay Clayton to certify that with respect to certain materials, a large quantity of the materials, a rigorous process was undertaken to protect victims against any clearly unwarranted invasion of their personal privacy.
Okay.
The department's collection effort resulted in more than 6 million pages being identified as
What's up, everybody?
potentially
Thank you for being here.
responsive, including department and FBI emails, interview summaries, images, videos, and various other materials collected and generated during the various investigations and prosecutions that the act covered. We erred on the side of over-collection of materials from various sources to best ensure maximum transparency and compliance, which necessarily means that the number of responsive pages is significantly smaller than the total number of pages initially collected. That's why I mentioned a moment ago, we're releasing more than 3 million pages today and not the 6 million pages that we collected. I want to address what we didn't produce. The categories of documents withheld include those permitted under the Act to be withheld, files that contain personally identifiable information of victims or victims' personal and medical files, and similar files, the disclosure of which would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury, also not produced. Although the act allows for withholding for items necessary to keep secret in the interest of national security or foreign policy, no files are being withheld or redacted on that basis.
Okay.
Further, as we previously stated in our December 19th letter of last year, the department withheld or redacted files covered by various privileges, as we always do.
So the stuff he's explaining now is what's known as swag. Stuff we ain't gonna get. Stuff we ain't getting. Some spell with 2 G's. But you know what I'm saying? This is the stuff that we're not gonna get, is what he's explaining now.
Deliberative process privilege, work product privilege, and attorney-client privilege. As you all know, under the Act, the department must subsequently submit to the House and Senate committees on the judiciary a report listing all categories of records released and withheld, a summary of redactions made, including the legal basis for such redactions, and a list of all government officials and politically exposed persons named or referenced in the Act. We will do so in due course as required under the Act.
Lawyer talk.
I want to talk for just a moment about the redactions that will be obvious to anyone who reviews the materials that we just produced today. In addition to the documentary redactions, which includes personal identifying information, victim information, and other privileges, there is extensive redactions to images and videos. To protect victims, We redacted every woman depicted in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell. We did not redact images of any men, unless it was impossible to redact the woman without also redacting the man. To this end, though, and to ensure transparency, if any member of Congress wishes to review any portions of the responsive production in any unredacted form, they're welcome to make arrangements with the department to do so, and we're happy to do that. I want to talk for a minute about something that is important. Every single day of the year, the Department of Justice investigates and prosecutes those who abuse and traffic young women and children. Just last year, the FBI located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation. The Department of Justice found and terminated 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts.
Okay.
In August, we charged 11 defendants for extensive sex trafficking in Los Angeles of illegal immigrants and underage women. Last month, we charged 5 men who were engaged in a sadistic sextortion network of deranged young men abusing women. Over the past several months, last summer and into the fall, we executed Operation Restore Justice, rescuing 205 child victims and arresting 293 offenders. I point this out because I take umbrage at the suggestion, which is totally false, that the Attorney General or this department does not take child exploitation or sex trafficking seriously, or that we somehow do not want to protect victims. We do. There are some select members of Congress and some in the public eye, including those most critical of our efforts at full transparency under the Act, who remain silent as to all the work that we have done and continue to do every day in this space, while quickly pointing a finger at the Attorney General or this department because we were careful in our review of millions of pages of documents over the past 2 months. The Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, and our partners throughout this administration work hard every single day to protect the most vulnerable among us. With the production of this magnitude, mistakes are inevitable.
Magnitude?
We, of course,
Did he just say magnitude?
want to immediately correct any redaction errors that our team may have made. And so the department has established an email inbox for victims to reach us directly to correct redactions and any concerns when appropriate. That's been in existence since December, and we've been doing that since then. Finally, a very small portion of the documents collected pursuant to the Act include materials that a law firm produced to the SDNY in 2019 pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. This was during the criminal investigation of Ms. Maxwell. We determined it would be prudent to seek an order from the court in the Southern District of New York seeking production of these materials subject to the protective order in that civil lawsuit. To that end, the department has filed that motion with the appropriate judge in the SDNY, and if that motion is granted, we'll release those materials with appropriate redactions immediately. Today's release marks the end of a very comprehensive document identification and review process to ensure transparency to the American people and compliance with the Act. The department has engaged in an unprecedented and extensive effort to do so. After submitting the final report to Congress as required under the Act and publishing the written justifications for redactions in the Federal Register, the department's obligations under the Act will be completed. I'm happy to take any questions anybody has about that.
Todd, I'd like to ask you about this, and I have a Minnesota question for you. On the Epstein release today, it was recently made public that Ghislaine Maxwell claims more than 24 men signed secret agreements with the federal government not to be prosecuted. What is your reaction to that, and what does that mean for her case?
I read an article that described, I wasn't aware that it was actual men that she's claiming. I thought it was accomplices, which I'm not sure if that's a reference to some of the financial institutions or other individuals that.
25.
So yes, I don't have a reaction to her filing. I can tell you that we reviewed as I just described, every single piece of paper that we have associated with these investigations, Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, and to the extent that such arrangements exist, I'm not aware of them.
And on to Minnesota, if I may ask you real quick. That's in the topic in the headlines right now. There's new video of a man believed to be Alex Preddy, who's spitting, who's kicking out a taillight of a law enforcement vehicle. Does that change the perception of a potential DOJ investigation? Is there going to be a civil rights investigation into his death? Where does that land now that video's out? Then I have a quick follow-up on that.
I don't think a single video should change any perception the Department of Justice may or may not have about that tragic occurrence last Saturday. We've said repeatedly over the past week that, of course, this is something that we're investigating, and we are. That's what we would always do in circumstances like this. And so there's an investigation that's ongoing, which I'm not going to talk about.
So they're saying the new information isn't going to affect their
is
investigation into the shooting of Alex Preddy.
an initial reaction to a particular video, one or another. You're talking about one that happened apparently some days ahead of last Saturday. It's an investigation. So an investigation necessarily means
Like
it means just that. It
like
means talking to witnesses. It means looking at documentary evidence, sending subpoenas if you have to. And the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has the best experts in the world at this. They've been doing it for decades. And so I expect that investigation will proceed with those parameters in mind.
He does
Looking
look
at
a
a
little
nexus
green
of left-wing
screen.
groups, this DOJ said that that's something that you guys were concerned about. Are you following money? Are you looking at a potential that all of this may be related somewhere?
I mean, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Attorney General. You said in your remarks that you've withheld some documents because of ongoing investigations.
And we are going to get into that story that they were mentioning about the 25 men who made secret deals. That was Ghislaine's statement. We are going to get into that right after this.
I've done this long enough to know you can't comment on ongoing investigations, but can you say a little bit more? Because as you know, the department has been criticized for not bringing charges against more people. Are there still open investigations related to Jeffrey Epstein?
So what I was laying out in my comments is the statutory, what the statute talks about what we can withhold and the reasons we can withhold it. I wasn't pointing to any particular, I wasn't trying to be coy or otherwise suggest there's some investigation. As you all know, Jay Clayton in New York is in charge of any potential investigations, and I'm not going to comment beyond that on that.
Clayton.
Excuse me?
You were referring to Clayton's investigation.
I wasn't referring to anything. I was just saying that Congress, in their wisdom, allowed us to withhold documents if there were ongoing criminal investigations. That's one of the 4 reasons. I wanted to make clear with respect to any national security information that we were not withholding. There's not some tranche of super secret documents about Jeffrey Epstein that we're withholding. We're actually not withholding anything based upon NDI. So.
Deputy Attorney General Prince, thank you for your time. 2 questions for you. Number 1, pushing politics aside and everyone else aside, some of the victims of Epstein have expressed frustration with the entire process. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to them.
Well, I don't know what you're speaking to. I mean, if there's frustration with, quote, the entire process, same here. I mean, you have a situation where for many, many years, nobody even breathed a word about Jeffrey Epstein. And then all of a sudden, it was all anybody would talk about going into the last spring and summer, culminating in the passage of the Transparency Act. And President Trump has said for years what I think everybody will find to be exactly true, which is detailing his relationship and lack thereof with Mr. Epstein and what he thought about Mr. Epstein. And notwithstanding what the department has been saying for a very long time, we're still where we are today. Listen, victims of Mr. Epstein have gone through unspeakable pain, and there's nobody that should say anything differently. And I to the extent that there's frustration, I understand where that comes from, just from what we know about Mr. Epstein. I hope that the work that the men and women within this department have done over the past 2 months hopefully is able to bring closure. I think that what we told our reviewers is that was the goal. You know, there's this mantra out there that, the Department of Justice is supposed to protect Donald J. Trump, and that's what we were telling. That's not true. That was never the case. We are always concerned about the victims. When we said that we were not legally allowed to release documents, that's a fact. That was true. It remains true today. And then with the Act's passage, we are able now and directed to release documents, which is what we are doing. But so hopefully some of those frustrations are now eased. Listen, any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so. Hopefully, if not, they should.
I don't think there's
the prosecutors from this case in New York have given hundreds, if not thousands, of hours to working with victims, and that's what we do every day, and that's what we did in this case as well. So,
very quickly, can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other
that like button, guys, that helps get the
name
video
came up
out.
in relation to the
I appreciate
Epstein
you.
files, that all documents, photos,
Or double tap your device.
anything relevant
Boop, boop,
to him
boop,
connected to the case are being released?
I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the Act, and there is no. We did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that. But President Trump, of all the people in Washington, D.C. and around this country that have said for years the same consistent message about Jeffrey Epstein is President Trump. And so there's not been a change of course or anything, and certainly his direction to the American people and his direction to the Department of Justice was to be as transparent, release the files, be as transparent as we can, and that's exactly what we did.
I want to clarify your remarks on the Alex Preddy killing. Are you saying that the Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation into his death?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, look, and I know there's been a lot of discussion among the media around that, but just think about what that means. All that means is that DHS, as the Secretary has said, is conducting an investigation, as they should and as they do every time there's a tragic event like this. And the FBI, in their role, which is a separate role from DHS, is also looking into it and conducting an investigation, and that's not. That shouldn't be treated as making news. We've said that for a week. And
put some names in the chat that you think are in this next batch of files. Put some names in the chat.
And it remains as true today as it was last Sunday when I said it.
Two questions for you, one on topic and one separate.
Speak up a little bit.
Yeah, two questions for you, one on topic and one separate. On topic, do you have any information that you could just share? Because 3 million documents is a lot for people who are watching this at home. Are there any new names or new people, public people in positions of power who your department found in these filings?
I don't have anything to share about what's new or not new, and no, I don't.
Everybody hit that like button. Let's get to 100 likes.
Do you have a reaction to the arrest of Don
Let's do
Lemon
that.
overnight?
Do you have a reaction to what?
To Don Lemon's arrest overnight?
How about that?
Do I
Don
have a
Lemon.
reaction to it? I don't know what that means. What are you looking for me to do? Jump up and down? No, I don't have a reaction to it. I don't know that the charges are unsealed yet. So no, I can't. I'm not going to comment on that.
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Ooh.
Well, I mean,
Oh, shit.
they're the men who
Flatback.
abused the young women through Epstein's,
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
Okay, then just to follow up, on the investigation into Federal Chairman Jerome Powell, is the Justice Department, what's the status of that investigation? Now that President Trump has nominated a new Fed chair, is the Justice Department looking to bring a close to the investigation into Chairman Powell as soon as possible?
I don't have a comment on that, on the subpoenas that were issued. I don't think the timing of President Trump's decision to nominate somebody is a controlling factor in any investigation.
Hi, I just wanted to follow up on Alana's question. So you're saying that the shooting investigation of Alex Preddy is now a civil rights investigation. You're implying that that's always been the case. Can you also say what about the shooting of Renee Good? I mean, why not is that a civil rights investigation?
I didn't say it was always the case. I said it's the same thing that we said as of last Sunday, with respect to last weekend. There are thousands, unfortunately, of law enforcement events every year where somebody is shot. The Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice does not investigate every one of those shootings. There has to be circumstances or facts, or maybe unknown facts, but certainly circumstances that warrant an investigation. So when I talked about last weekend, and when others have talked about this week, the fact that President Trump has said repeatedly, of course, this is something we're going to investigate. That's what I meant about what we're doing. It doesn't mean that every time that there's a federal officer-related shooting, that's something civil rights takes up. It depends on the circumstances.
Follow up on that. Can you just? I know you can't be specific about details of the investigation, but can you kind of just characterize the scope of the Preddy investigation? What kinds of things that they'll be looking for?
Like a dog's eyes.
And who's involved?
Well, I mean, it's an investigation. So what do we think we're looking at? We're looking at everything that would shed light on what happened that day and in the days and weeks leading up to what happened. And that's like any investigation that the Department of Justice and the FBI does every day. It means we're looking at videos, talking to witnesses, trying to understand what happened. I mean, you're talking about an incredibly tragic morning. And then trying to unwind and investigate that it takes a lot of time. I'm not going to prejudice what they're doing or not doing by laying any markers, but I expect that the folks that are doing this are the most experienced in this space and are doing that.
Yeah, so to follow up on that, how would a civil rights investigation work with DHS taking the lead, which is what was said over the weekend? And are prosecutors in Minnesota, I mean, who is involved in this? We know that there's a lot of frustration within the department, both in Minnesota and the Civil Rights Division, that they feel they are not being brought in and they are the experts here. So just to follow up, how would this work with DHS taking the lead, and who is from DOJ involved in this investigation?
I don't think that, look, I think anytime every single federal agency, including DHS, has a process that they use when there's something like this that happens, an internal review, investigation, however you want to call it. That's what DHS was doing, as they do every single time something like this happened. There was nothing unique to these facts. There might have been outsized focus on it because of what happened, but DHS was doing an investigation. I don't know that will stop. I don't expect that investigation to stop because we're investigating, and of course we're coordinating with them. We're not working against them, but there's I suppose potentially separate goals or potential goals in the two investigations. I mean, DHS is conducting an investigation, and then the FBI conducts an investigation. It's not as if one goes one way and one goes the other, but they are their own investigations.
Very clearly said on Sunday that HSI is leading the investigation, and he did not want to overstep and say anything. Was that not true anymore, or was that true at the time?
I don't think it's fair to say whether it's true anymore, okay? And I don't think it's also, I don't want to say who's lead or not lead. I don't even really know what that means in the course of an investigation. The FBI is investigating. They are for sure coordinating with Secretary Noem and her folks as well.
Welcome
and
back, Alan.
I expect DHS is also continuing their investigation to some extent. And there's outside folks on this. This happens, like I said, thousands of times a year. And it is tragic every single time it happens. And it's tragic this time like it's tragic every other time. And so there is a process that has to be allowed to play out internally with these law enforcement organizations and certainly with the FBI as well to allow this investigation to go on.
You've talked about the expectations surrounding the Epstein files. Do you agree that the DOJ itself, senior officials at the DOJ, played up those expectations for the first half of this year? I'm just sort of trying to understand what responsibility does the Justice Department have for the criticism that has come over the handling of the Epstein files?
I'm not commenting on criticism. People can criticize all they want. My point was just to make plain that when it comes to what we've been doing the past 2 months and why we weren't able to complete the review of over 6 million pages. Okay, so you're talking about 2 Eiffel Towers, okay, of pages in 30 days in a way that made sure we complied with the act, right? So the act had multiple requirements. Get it done in 30 days. And you better not release any victim information. All right, so there's a lot of statutory construction, there's a lot of case law that exists that says that if those two are in conflict, we obviously are not violating the 30-day requirement by taking our time to comply with the act. And so my comments were directed at this idea that because we didn't review the 6+ million pages within 30 days, somehow the Attorney General doesn't care about victims or is further doing damage to victims because of that, because exactly the opposite is true when it comes to the Attorney General.
Sir, I have questions on Epstein.
That's a good one right there. Hey, everybody put a 1 in the chat if you think Epstein is still alive. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he's dead as disco. Put a 1 in the chat if Epstein is alive. Put a 2 in the chat if he is gone.
Minnesota. For transparency, would you commit to releasing the body cam video from federal officers that was involved in that shooting and their names at a point when the investigation can allow that? Will you make that public? And I did not hear clarity on whether Renee Good's case is also in the civil rights realm.
I'm not committing to anything with respect to that investigation. That would be completely unfair to the investigation itself for me to stand here and commit to something for any reason. It depends. It depends on what happens with the investigation, and that's a decision that was made by the folks that are working the investigation. As it relates to Ms. Good, I don't, like I said before, there's investigations that happen all the time with respect to shootings like what happened last Saturday, and cases are handled differently by this department depending on the circumstances.
On Epstein, sir, if I may just ask one on that, please. You mentioned a letter to Congress. How and to whom did you notify the White House about the production that you're announcing today before you came out and spoke to us?
How did I do what?
Notify the White House. What was your interface with the White House? You said there's a letter to Congress. Who did you update at the White House about this?
Well, I don't know. I don't really understand the question. You mean who did I update?
Did you provide them an explanation of what today's release would be?
Look, my team has certain communications with the White House. Let me just be clear. They had nothing to do with this review. They had no oversight over this review. They did not tell this department how to do our review, what to look for, what to redact, what to not redact. They absolutely knew that I was doing this press conference today and that we were releasing the materials today. But there's no oversight by the White House into the process that we've undertaken over the past 60 days.
I wanted to ask a question about the evidence in the Alex Preddy investigation. Early on, our reporting showed that the only type of evidence that the FBI initially had in its possession that it was processing for ballistics and DNA, et cetera, was Preddy's firearm.
He just touched his nose.
have the
You know what that
firearm, the
means.
2 firearms that were used
That's a sign of
to
deception,
shoot
but
Preddy. Those were in the hands of HSI, and also
Am
there
I?
were concerns about chain of custody, things not being properly bagged and tagged, et cetera. Where are the guns now? Are they in the FBI's possession and being reviewed at one of their labs? And who has the phone that Preddy was using and filming? And is that going to be reviewed by the FBI?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to those questions. Look, I think that there's Secretary Noem is been clear with the American people, but also with the Department of Justice that we're doing this together. We're coordinating, and so I'm not following in the weeds about who actually has possession of the firearms that were discharged.
Something the FBI would need in order to conduct a thorough investigation into a color of. This is obviously a color of law case.
When I said I didn't know, I wasn't being critical of the question. I was just simply saying I don't know.
On the Fulton County seizure of ballots, local officials there, election officials say those materials were set to become public by February 9th and that the Justice Department could have simply asked for them. Why was it necessary to conduct a search warrant? And do you expect the affidavit in that search warrant matter to become public anytime soon? Or do you have any comment or explanation as to why that was necessary?
Listen, I'm not going to comment on. It's a criminal investigation. I will not comment on it. I will say that it should be no surprise to anybody in this room or anybody watching that election integrity is extraordinarily important to this administration. Always has been and always will be. And so the fact that President Trump and this administration are investigating to make sure that are investigating issues around elections to make sure that we do have completely fair and appropriate elections should not be surprising, but I can't comment on any criminal investigations. Yeah.
To follow up on that, regarding Fulton County, can you explain Tulsi Gabbard's role in DOJ activity? Could you please explain Tulsi Gabbard's role in DOJ activity regarding the Fulton County search?
What do you mean her role?
It was reported that
she happened to be present in Atlanta. I mean, yes, I saw the same photos you did. I mean, she doesn't work for the Department of Justice or the FBI. She's an extraordinarily important part of this administration. This administration coordinates everything we do as a group. And so I think her presence shouldn't be, there shouldn't be questioned. Of course, I mean, that's a big part of her job. And so the fact that she was present in Atlanta that day, is something that shouldn't surprise anybody.
Sean Maxwell.
All right, just two more. Go ahead.
Just following up on that, so are you saying that Gabbard's appearance in that area had nothing to do with the Justice Department action?
I most certainly did not say that. No, I did not say that. I said that exactly the opposite. I said this administration works closely together in all kinds of different areas, and so I'm not sure if they're surprised at that the administration is working together on things like election integrity. But if there is surprise, let me unequivocally state we are working together as an administration on election integrity type issues, and so that's all I can say about that. All right, one more.
Can you clarify who at the Justice Department is involved in the Preddy investigation? Is it the Civil Rights Division? Is it the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota?
So I want to be careful about, I want to choose words carefully about involved. Investigations like this are led by law enforcement, so that's the FBI. There's coordination with the civil rights, with Harmeet Dillon's group, and there's trial attorneys there this is their lives. They've done this for decades, and so to the extent there's questions during an investigation that require a trial attorney to weigh in, or if you need a civil rights attorney to draft a search warrant or help with an investigative process, I expect the Civil Rights Division here at Maine Justice will be part of that effort. But I don't want to overstate what's happening. I don't want the takeaway to be that there's some massive civil rights investigation that's happening. This is what I would describe as a standard investigation by the FBI when there's circumstances like what we saw last Saturday, and that investigation, to the extent it needs to involve lawyers at the Civil Rights Division, it will involve those. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. I appreciate it.
What we're going to do is we are going to cut to another part of the story. Ghislaine Maxwell made a statement about 25 men who made some deals. This is our buddy Jesse Weber. All right, this is Sidebar with Jesse Weber on Law and Crime. There is the watermark right there. I hope everybody is subscribed to his channel. We're going to watch a little bit about Ghislaine.
According to a newly filed court document, Ghislaine Maxwell, the former associate of Jeffrey Epstein, she was convicted of sex trafficking minors, sentenced to 20 years in prison. She claims that
Mods, could you please drop the link to this channel in the chat? It is Law and Crime with Jesse Weber.
25 men, maybe friends, associates of the deceased financier, have been protected under secret settlements, secret deals, and that this information was not revealed to her during her trial. This is on top of what she claims are 4 other individuals, alleged co-conspirators, who were never charged. Obviously, I have thoughts. Is she telling the truth, particularly given her past, in light of what she's trying to do now? If this is true,
thank you.
Number one, wow. And who are these people? What is a secret settlement? Can we ever find out? Can the public ever find out? So I'm made of questions. I'm bringing on an expert right now to tackle all of this. I'm bringing on right now former federal prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, Gene Rossi. Jeans, thank you so much for taking the time. Really, really appreciate it. Okay. Before I get into any of these alleged people who made secret deals, first, just to provide context,
Ghislaine Maxwell's statement and testimony that there were 25 men that made secret deals to stay out of trouble.
Just so our audience understands, this is a part of Ghislaine Maxwell's habeas corpus petition, okay? Now, we know that the Supreme Court previously denied even hearing her appeal of her conviction. So for anybody who doesn't know, just generally speaking, Gene, what is a habeas corpus petition and what can a court do with it?
That's a great question. The most famous habeas corpus petition that was granted is a famous case, I think, from the 1970s, Brewer versus Williams. It was a murder of a 10-year-old girl on Christmas Eve in Des Moines, Iowa. And it was a state case, and the defendant, Mr. Williams, had mental health challenges, was recently released from a mental institution, and he strangled and mutilated and killed a 12-year-old girl on Christmas Eve. And it went up through the state system, exhausted all appeals, and then Mr. Williams filed a petition in federal court called Brewer versus Williams. Who's Brewer? Brewer is the warden where he was being held, but that's a state case. And it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they reversed. There was a violation of the right to counsel, new trial. He was convicted again. That's a state case. This is a federal case, and the same standards apply. Miss Ghislaine Maxwell is filing a civil lawsuit, not a criminal, a civil lawsuit as a petitioner, alleging that constitutional provisions have been violated, and she was—
There's some breaking news. Ghislaine Maxwell is filing a civil lawsuit.
Convicted, and it was a miscarriage of justice. She raises about 9 points in her pro se petition that she allegedly wrote. She probably had some jailhouse lawyers, but 50 pages, or give or take a few pages. It's a civil lawsuit. And the burden of proof is preponderance that she has to bear to show that a constitutional violation occurred. And what would be the violations in this case?
Right. So just to be clear, in other words, this is somebody saying their detention is unlawful, right? And she's saying there's substantial new evidence that has come out. Throw out her conviction, throw out her sentence, that when you look at lawsuits that were filed, government disclosures, investigative reports, documents, it's very clear, right, that if she had this information, her whole trial would have been different. Her rights were violated. If I'm understanding it right, yeah, there's about 9 points. Just before we get into it, how often are these successful? I mean, how often can this result in a conviction being thrown out or a sentence, her being resentenced?
I can give you 2 good examples. One involves Gene Rossi. I convicted somebody of drug trafficking in 2006. Her name was, I'll call her Barbara. Fake name. Barbara Smith. That's a fake name. I convicted her. She got sentenced to 7 years. About a year later, she filed a habeas corpus petition. She had counsel, great counsel, and she argued that the prior attorneys did not give her good adequate information regarding plea negotiations. Judge T.S. Ellis III, who treated me like a son, and he passed away a few months ago. He was a legend. He had the 2255 habeas hearing. He granted the petition. After he granted the petition, 5 minutes later, she pleaded guilty to time served. So I lost that hearing.
Right.
So it's possible. Second example is there's a famous case. It's a state case. It's Commonwealth of Virginia versus Justin Wolf. He was sentenced to death for drug trafficking and allegedly hiring somebody to kill a customer. It went up through the system, and the Virginia Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court reversed the conviction. It's now being appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, habeas petition, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Because I'm assisting in that case. But it's possible to win both a federal habeas petition and also a state habeas petition. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So we're going to go through some of her points, right? She says there's juror misconduct. The government misrepresented evidence. She brings up Epstein's non-prosecution agreement, back in the day, the one that he signed to get him away from being charged federally, because she has always argued that she was covered under that she was granted immunity. Maybe we'll get to that. But we got to start with this bombshell, okay? So this is the language directly from the filing. I'm going to read specifically from certain parts about these co-conspirators, these secret agreements, okay? Like this, quote, "The secret settlements with the 25 men were hidden from the petitioner," meaning Ghislaine Maxwell. "That information would have changed the outcome of the trial, and petitioner would have certainly called the men as witnesses. The degree of contamination and collusion between witnesses, combined with withholding of Brady material by the government — Brady material is evidence that helps the defendant, needs to be turned over — quote, "that would call into question the credibility of every complainant that interfaced with plaintiff's lawyers, all of them would have changed the outcome of the trial." And remember, there was always a lot of litigation with respect to Epstein and Maxwell that was in the background of the criminal case. So that argument that information was withheld from her and her team is very significant. And then you have this argument of selective prosecution, right? That she is being singled out, that other people could have been charged, but why is she the only one being charged like this? Is it an unfair prosecution? Quote, "A defendant moving to dismiss for selective prosecution bears the heavy burden of establishing at least prima facie that while others similarly situated have not generally been proceeded or prosecuted against because of conduct of the type forming the basis of the charge against him, this person has been singled out for prosecution." That's one thing you have to show. "And that the government has a discriminatory selection of the defendant for prosecution." And so here she said,
first of all, do you think that she is being given special treatment? All right. Is she being given special treatment in prison? Well, here's a little something about that. Let's find out.
Specially prepared meals, bottled water, a dog to play with. Fellow inmates are claiming that Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, is getting special treatment behind bars.
No.
This comes as the feds release 3 million pages from the Epstein Files.
Is Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend getting special treatment behind bars? There's growing outrage over reported perks being handed to Ghislaine Maxwell, now serving 20 years for child sex trafficking.
Does it sound like she's getting special treatment to you?
I know for a fact she's getting special treatment.
Les Trent spoke to Sam Mangle, a prison consultant who has 3 clients at the same facility as Maxwell, the Bryan Federal Prison Camp in Texas.
Whether it's access to a laptop computer, which is unheard of, to visits where they lock down the camp and no one can leave their bunks while she's having visitors.
Allegations of other perks, according to the New York Times, include meals being delivered to her cell and being served bottled water while other inmates drink tap water, playing with service dogs, showering alone, and watching TV alone in staff-only areas. They even provided her with an umbrella to shade her from the hot Texas sun while she took her daily walks.
She's been given the freedom and liberties that the other inmates do not have.
Last July, Maxwell was moved from a medium security prison in Florida to the minimum security camp in Texas. This followed her meeting with
There she was.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. According to reports, fellow inmates at the facility were threatened with solitary confinement or transferred to a tougher penitentiary if they voiced complaints about Maxwell's perks.
They've been told from the day she got there, do not discuss her Do not put anything in writing. Do not talk about her on the phone. Do not make any trouble regarding Miss Maxwell, or we will move you to another location.
Maxwell is scheduled to testify by video from prison for the House Oversight Committee as part of its probe of the Epstein investigation.
Oh, that's going to be interesting. So we're going to make sure that we cover that. That's definitely going to be interesting. So let's check this story out right here. A little cap on that.
Also breaking today, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announcing the release of millions more files related to Jeffrey Epstein. Our Justice correspondent David Spunt is reporting on this in Washington. Hi, David.
Hi, Aisha. You're not exaggerating when you say millions. More than 3 million pages are now being posted to the Justice Department website. This includes more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche took multiple questions on the files released today and said most of the videos are commercial pornography. Not all videos featuring Jeffrey Epstein or shot by Jeffrey Epstein. Blanche says medical records, images that may show harm toward children, and any sort of physical abuse were not released publicly. Some of the names mentioned in the files dumped today: Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Steve Bannon. Again, not much context when names are released. Important to point that out, and we've not seen evidence that anything was criminal between those men. Now, context is key, but there's not been a lot of context. Some of the communications from Epstein are none too kind to this man, President Trump. The two knew each other back in the 90s in Palm Beach and are pictured together numerous times over the years. Today's document release includes Trump's name many times, but there is a note that says some of the claims were submitted to the FBI before the 2020 election, and of the documents released thus far, none have anything criminally damaging involving President Trump. Here's Blanche on criticism that he, the president's former personal attorney, is protecting his former client. Watch.
We did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Blanche says it's possible more would be released if judges order more to be released, but he said of today's release, quote, "Today's release marks the end of a very comprehensive document identification and review process."
All right, so, excuse me. What we're going to go to now is we're going to check out, this is a live feed that they are just running this thing here. This is the Epstein cell from his last night alive. And you could just sort of get a sense of what that cell and that area looks like. Yikes. So there you go. This is the Epstein cell from his last night on Earth. So we're just watching a little bit of this. We are going to cut to something else here. So I was watching something, I think it was this morning, and it's from Benny Johnson. Now, Benny is talking about Elon Musk being on the Epstein Files. Let's give it a listen.
With Jeffrey Epstein, we're going to break it down here. Look at this. Elon Musk asked Jeffrey Epstein about pedophiles' wild island parties and when to attend them. For Elon, who's a man who has never shied away from talking about Jeffrey Epstein, either as an aside, a joke, a tweet. He even tweeted that Donald Trump wasn't releasing the Epstein files because he was in them. That was, of course, rock bottom with the Elon Musk-Donald Trump relationship. That tweet went thermonuclear. Elon since deleted it and seemingly apologized to Trump. They're back on good terms. Elon Musk asking about Bill Gates in the Epstein files. This was at the height of Doge when Bill Gates was attacking Elon Musk. Listen to this.
Comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already. I wondered,
Also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and
I wouldn't trust that guy to babysit my kids.
He spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is, have you looked?
All right, that's a roast and a good one from Elon Musk, and an accurate one, by the way, because the documents do prove that Bill Gates is the world's biggest scumbag, and that's really not anything that you can debate now. Listen, Bill Gates having affairs with other women is...
So this headline says, Jeffrey Epstein says Bill Gates caught transmitted disease from Russian girls, then suggested secretly slipping Melinda antibiotics. New emails in the DOJ release claim. We're going to take a quick look at that story right here. This is about Bill Gates and the STDs and the Russian girls. Allegedly. Then asked for antibiotics to secretly give to his then wife, Melinda. Yikes. What a creep. If that's true, what a fucking piece of shit. Welcome to the news. Like button. The Bombshell claims appear in what are described as screenshots of 2013 self-emails written by Jeffrey Epstein, according to documents released today. And what some of these documents show is that reportedly Epstein was on the board of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ain't that a thing? Allegations have not been verified and are heavily disputed by context and prior denials from Bill Gates. Do we believe anything from Bill Gates? Okay. Niet, I say. You understand that, Bill? Niet. Niet. That is it. According to the documents, Epstein wrote a lengthy message to himself on July 18th, 2013, lashing out at Gates for ending their relationship. In one passage, Epstein allegedly wrote, to add insult to the injury, you then implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD. You request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda and the description of your Schwanz. Epstein said, I got that from High Anxiety, by the way. Epstein said he had been dismayed beyond comprehension by Gates' decision to disregard our friendship developed over the past 6 years. Ooh, catty. The files further suggest the emails may have been drafts of a letter intended to be sent by Gates' then top advisor, Boris Nikolic. He likes Russian girls, apparently. Wow. You know. Yeah, she didn't mention this in that interview. Another, look at this piece of okay shit. Another message written as if from Nicolic's perspective alleged he had been pulled into a marital dispute between the couple. You dirt bag ass. And by the way, big shout out to the Sun for putting this piece together. In that email, Epstein allegedly wrote, "I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill." So Epstein is saying that Bill Gates is pulling him into their marital dispute. Now, does that happen with somebody that you don't really know or that you just had dinner with one time and regretted it? Isn't that what he said? You again. In my role as his right-hand man, I have been asked and wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate to the ethically unsound, and have been repeatedly asked to do things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, ouch, to facilitating his illicit trusts with married women. Damn, Bill. You the Kermit the Frog. Hit the like button. If you dislike Bill Gates, hit the like button. You're with me. It's being asked to provide Adderall for, I believe that's for, bridge tournaments, as I am a medical doctor but have no prescriptions writing ability. So we gave Bill Adderall for his bridge tournaments. None of the claims have been substantiated. And for those just today, again, this is from a piece by The Sun. It's right up there in the upper right of the frame.
We are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the Act. Just a quick note about the videos and images. The 2,000 videos and 180,000 images are not all videos and images taken.
We're an hour into the show, and this live stream has already hit 120,000 views because of you guys hitting that like button. Thank you so much. Hit the like button.
By Mr. Epstein or someone around him. They include large quantities of commercial pornography and images that were seized from Epstein's devices, but which he did not take or that someone around him did not take. Some of the videos, though, and some of the images do appear to be taken by Mr. Epstein or by others around him.
We already saw this, but we're going to get a couple different takes here on this news.
It's live now from Fox. The Friday edition continues on right now. It is a busy day. We have protests happening all across the country, anti-ICE ones. We have some severe weather that will be coming to the Northeast once again. Just last week, portions of the Northeast were dealing with snow. Now this nor'easter is going to be coming, so we'll be talking about that a little bit later here on Live Now from Fox. But we want to continue right now to talk about one of our top stories that we have been following for you, and it was another Epstein Files dump today, and not just a dump, it was a blizzard of files. We're talking 3.5 million more Epstein files that dropped there, so we have reporters that are continuing to scour that information right now and picking up all of the different facts as well as key details in this. I want to continue to talk about this, bring in our next guest right now to help break.
You know what we're going to do? Let's just go right to here it is. Let's just go right to the U.S. Department of Justice site. This is the Epstein Library. So we're going to do something crazy. We are just going to start looking. So what happens here is, first of all, you have to say you're over 18 to get into this. This is from the Department of Justice. Let me frame this up a little better. Oh, I didn't expand that one. Okay, we'll drop back here. And we will put a non-moving background in there so we don't give anybody a seize here. There we go. Hit that like button, guys. We're getting into the Epstein Library. This is from the Department of Justice. Now, what I noticed is that I've done a couple of these searches that you can type to search right here. So I'm just going to type a name. You know what? Who do you guys think are in the files? Again, let me ask that question, and then maybe I'll pick it out of the chat and I'll type it in here. So put it in the chat. Who do you think will be in the files? What do you want me to search? I'm going to start with one. I'm just going to go, since we just talked about him, let's just go Gates and see what comes up. Oh boy. Okay. So here we go. Yeah, this is interactive. You guys get to participate. Yes, I'm 18 years or older. Thank you. Okay. So here we have some of the files. Jeffrey Epstein reportedly learned that Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates had an affair with a young Russian woman and later appeared to threaten to expose the tryst. There you go, Ivor. If Gates refused to do business with him. So this is where the blackmail comes in. But let me just say, even with blackmail, you have to make the choice to do the shitty thing to get blackmailed. You know what I'm saying? So let's pop this in this frame right here. If that works. Yeah, not really. So we're going to go back. We're going to look at the next data set. Ivor. Okay. We'll look at some of those names. So this is a file. Okay. And by the way, I'm just looking at these fresh off the bat with you guys. I'm going to I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. So this is a letter to Bill Gates, a 4-page letter. The header at the top of it is request for Jeffrey Epstein to engage in negotiations and discussions. So this looks like a NDA of proprietary information, waiver of the conflict of interest, because that would be somebody who was working with both sides, whether it's an attorney or an intermediary. General release, disclaimer, representations. So these are some of the things on Bill Gates that we're looking at. Let's look at number 3. Here's what it says. Actually, I think J.E. meant that Gates would fly with J.E. on J.E.'s plane, but I could be wrong. J.E. now tells me that he will go see Bill Gates from, and the person is redacted. A couple of the names are redacted. Who it's from is redacted, but who it's to is not right here. You guys can zoom in on your screens. To see Bill Gates on 2 to 3:30 on Wednesday, February 27th at Four Seasons. Same place he met up with Gates the last time. So more than one meeting. So Bill Gates, from the interview, he said he went to dinner with him or he had dinner with him, and that was it. This letter confirms, or this email confirms, that it is more than one meeting. So Bill, Bill. Oh, here we go, which makes me wonder what happened to the lunch at 1 p.m. on Friday, March 1, with Gates and Woody Allen. So Bill Gates, wow, okay, we're looking at like the third file. So Bill Gates had a meeting with Epstein and Woody Allen. I find that interesting. So let's continue to look through some of these. I'm not a robot. So here is another negotiations and discussions letter. Looks like another email where the from is redacted. Still about this Four Seasons meeting. Obviously, this is all up in the air. I think J.E. would like to be around for whenever Gates may have free. We will see as things unfold. So we're looking directly at the Epstein Files on the Department of Justice website. So now that we've seen that, let's look at something else here. Give me 1 second. Actually, while I do this, I could just pop this in.
And we have breaking news. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is holding a news conference on the Epstein Files. Let's listen.
Good morning. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law on November 9th.
Okay, we saw that. I already fixed it. Let's get back to this. So looking at these Epstein Files here, we have some other names. I saw Clinton in there. Let's put Clinton. So we're going to put, excuse me? No results found. Please try different search. What are you talking about? I just looked at this earlier, and it came up with a whole bunch of Clinton files. And now, I'm going to try it again. I did it just to test it earlier with Clinton. Now there's no results. Please try a different search. Wow. Okay, let's look at Barr. I just saw Barr in there. No results found. Try different search. Shut. Wow. This is a little bit strange. This is a little odd. Now, this could be just something going with the site. It could be overloaded or something like that. Let's try Bill. Good idea. No results found. Okay, I think this is... Let's just put in Gates again. I got other stuff if this is crapping out. But we put in Gates before. Okay, there's something wrong with their site because we put in Gates before, and that was in the crapper. So I got something interesting here about Prince Andrew and this Russian woman. Some of the communications between Prince Andrew and this Russian woman that they are talking about. See, I'm a professional. I can go from one thing to the other real quick. And remember, Prince Andrew is the former Prince Andrew. All right, let's go.
The US Justice Department is releasing more than 3 million pages of documents related to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This includes more than...
Sex offender. She's great.
than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images, and includes never-before-seen correspondence between the sex offender and the former Prince Andrew. The US Department of Justice has defended the delays due to an extensive redaction process and made clear it was not to protect the US president.
Where are my Aussies in the chat? We got any Aussies in here?
To protect victims, we redacted every woman depicted in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell. We did not redact images of any men. My team has certain communications with the White House. Let me just be clear, they had nothing to do with this review. They had no oversight over this review. They did not tell this department how to do our review, what to look for, what to redact, what to not redact.
Now, James Matthews has been looking through the files and has the latest of the releases.
A huge amount of documents, 3 million pages, more than 2,000
from Sky News in Australia,
videos and 180,000 images to wade through.
And this is they're going to start getting into some former Prince Andrew stuff here.
And we have
hit that like button for me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Been doing that since publication around about an hour ago. Prince Andrew, not for the first time, features in the releases. And let me read you an exchange that he had with Jeffrey Epstein, an email exchange from August 2010. Jeffrey Epstein sent the Duke an email.
This here, the former Duke of York. All right, let's get this so you guys can see the whole email. All right, this is from Jeffrey Epstein. This is courtesy of SkyNews.com, Australia. So Jeffrey Epstein, there's his, well, he's dead. So from August 2010, August 11th of 2010. I have a friend who I think you might enjoy having dinner with. Her name is Boop, and she will be in London. Wait, is that this one? No, that's not that one. Oops.
And he said, I have a friend who I think you might enjoy having dinner with. Her name is, we're redacting that, it's a Russian name. She will be London 20th to 24th. Now there's a reply from A, or HRH, the Duke of York. Of course. I am in Geneva until the morning of 22nd, but would be delighted to see her. Will she be bringing a message
from you?
Please give her my contact details to get in touch. Signed, A. Thereafter, there is an email from Jeffrey Epstein, that's redacted, and then a reply.
So here is the response from Andrew. Any other information you might know about her that might be useful to know? Like, what have you told her about me, and have you given her my email as well?
From A. And it says, great, any other information you might know about her that might be useful to know? Like, what have you told her about me, and have you given her my email as well? And then there's a reply from Jeffrey Epstein. She, 26, Russian, clever, beautiful, trustworthy.
She's 26, Russian, clever, beautiful, trustworthy, and yes, she has your email. Huh.
And yes, she has your email.
Your email.
And then from HRH, the Duke of York. That was quick. How are you? Good to be free, he asks. And then the reply from Epstein is first redacted, and then he says, great to be free of...
Great to be free of many things. What the does that mean?
Many things. And then from the Duke to Jeffrey Epstein, so many opportunities that I am frustratingly not allowed to participate in, and so many that are obvious but can't get anyone to fire on.
So many opportunities that I'm frustratingly not allowed to participate in, and so many that are obvious but can't get anyone to fire on. Must come and see you sometime soon. So, that is quite a bit. That is quite a bit going on there. So let's jump in over here. Back to this story.
Get all down from Politico. Haley Fuchs, great to have you on, Haley. I know this just dropped a little bit ago, but
so those were the emails between Epstein and Andrew, right?
The key details that you are picking up on and want to share.
So thanks so much for having me. I think what's really interesting is that we're already seeing people aren't satisfied with what's in the files, even as people are still going through these millions and millions of files, which will take days, if not weeks, to adequately go through. My colleagues and I are scouring them, looking for new information about the Epstein case and about potential people who had relationships with Epstein. And it's quite interesting to see some prominent names mentioned in these files.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And do you think, I mean, they could release 6 million, 8 million different files, unless it has really clear things in an email, the public will never be satisfied, correct?
I mean, what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said earlier today was he believed that the American public would never truly be satisfied. I think people want answers about this case, and I think it's a valid point. I think that Americans likely won't be satisfied, potentially ever.
Yeah, so true about that, Haley. I want to play out the Blanche sound right now. Stay with us right here. I just want to play it out about quick 40 seconds for our audience here.
And I'm gonna put a quick link in the chat. I've done a pre-recorded Epstein video called "The Deal of a Lifetime." That is right there in the chat. So if you guys want to see one of my pre-recorded videos about the case, about the people who prosecuted him and what happened, you can see it right there in that video. It is called Jeffrey Epstein, Deal of a Lifetime. I hope you guys will go watch it and leave a comment. Let's get back into this.
I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, so exactly what we were just talking about there.
And all we ask you to do here is hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure that you hit your notifications, because what I do sometimes is I'm going to be going into the horizontal mode. It's not going to get to every feed that you guys are seeing right now. So the only way is going to be for you hitting those notifications as well as subscribing to see the upcoming live streams on this specific topic.
The thirst is there for the information, but the satisfaction might not come with it.
Yeah, and I think that the Epstein saga has also kind of become a potent political tool, both for Democrats and for Republicans at different points in time. And because of that, I think the Epstein saga has kind of taken a life on a life of its own.
All right, we're going to hit this other video right here. This is inside. This is from the New York Post. All right, this is from the inside of the prison cell. This is where Jeffrey Epstein passed. Oh, I'm sorry, the prison interior and the prison cell. You're going to get to see more than just the cell.
Staff bathroom, holding cell, shoe.
Well, like and subscribe, guys. This is inside the prison.
Camera.
The shoe, the special housing unit, men's detention center, federal.
Holding cell. Entrance for the shoe.
And they're out in the shoe now. This is the special housing unit, that's SHU or SHU.
Officer station. Secondary desk.
Over 500 people in the house. Let's hit that like button, guys.
Main camera. G tier on top, H
And
tier.
by the way, we are creeping up on 28,000 subscribers. I thank you guys so much. Thank you.
That cage is the law library. What's the law library?
What's the law library? This is inside the special housing unit where Epstein was. This has not been seen before. Released in the files.
K over there.
Let's forward this to the cell.
This would be the cage that Noah stated that she opened, and she stood here while Thomas made his rounds doing the feeding.
Ooh. So this is inside the special housing unit where Epstein spent his last days.
Down. This is the shower for G tier.
There's a shower one at a time.
Shower. The phone jacks would have been here. And here. Cameras have been at the tier and G tier. Come back around. Turn south, it's up top. That's the camera pointed down to its opposite station.
It looks like where the security guards might have fallen asleep.
Shoot counselor. Office. Lieutenant's office. Turn south.
A lot of amazing new footage is going to be coming out over the next week or so. This is pretty wild. This is going to be some new information for us to see, some new stuff for us to get into. I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining me today. I want to thank everybody for liking, subscribing. We're coming up on 28,000 subscribers. I thank you so much. I want to thank my mods. I want to thank everybody who got a membership. Sunday got a membership in the beginning there. I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, I could not do it without you. We are going to stay on this story. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and that's where we'll talk it out, all right? We're going to get to the bottom of this. Truth is a moving target, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there.